Hello and welcome to MBH's live principal event. My name is Vicky Sylvester. I'll be your host for today. I'm an executive director of MBH and also one of the principals of one of the companies in the group, Acacia Training. And this is your opportunity to hear from the business owners within the MBH group. We can find out more about them, more about their businesses, and more about what's going on within their companies. Really big welcome to two new principals this time. David had only just joined when we did our last event, so it felt a little bit mean to put him on the spot on week one. So today, a huge welcome to David Williams from Approved Air and also Bernie from BEP Engineering, who are based over in Canada. So they're here to tell us more about their companies. I think it's a great opportunity to hear from them. And we're also joined today by Gary Marshall from VGT Taxis, Melissa Shea from Meeting of the Minds, Gary Smith from GS Contracts, Vicky Smith from Samuel Hobson House, not related, and also Amanda Sumner is here from Class Academy. So a lovely mix, and all the company owners got together during April. So it was the first time we've been together in 3 years. So we'll also get to hear a little bit more about that as well. If you do have any questions, do pop them in the chat. If we don't get the opportunity to answer them, I will get back to you and after the event and answer any questions that you may have. And then also just to note, our annual results are out today, which is the 27th of April 2022. So if you do want to go onto our website and have a look at those, all the information is available. So let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to welcome David and Bernie to the screen. So huge welcome to you both, and great to have you both here. Hope you're settling in all right so far. Are you both?
Yes, lovely. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah.
Right, David, I'll go to you first then. Tell people all about Approved Air. What type of business you are, what kind of things you do, and that would be great.
Hi, Vicky. Yes, my name's David Williams. I'm the Managing Director of Approved Air Limited. I started my career in 1984 as a heating, ventilation and air conditioning commissioning engineer, which basically means when systems have been installed into offices, hotels, hospitals, etc. We're there to set them up to make sure that they're as efficient as possible. So, back in the day, they didn't worry too much about energy, but now with the environment and energy, we're there to improve the efficiency of everything. And as these things generally work, we work for companies for a number of years, and then we get to a stage where we think we're probably cleverer than what we are, and we decide to set up on our own, which was interesting to say the least. Started off on my own as a sole trader, but started a limited company in 1998 and just continued doing the same thing. Basically, just taking over contracts that I'd done before. My son was born in 2002 and he was seriously ill and spent quite a number of weeks and months in hospital. And I thought I'd like to diversify and try and do more for the NHS. So when you set up these systems, basically you do it for the contractors rather than for the client. So I brought in a new thing where the client employs us now, so we don't have to be at the mercy of the contractor to say what they want you to say, so you get paid. So it's made a massive difference. We've made a difference. So now basically we do new build validations, which means that when a contractor fits something, we check that it's up to compliance standards and that it's safe. And then we do annual verifications, which basically checks the results every year to, again, make sure staff, patients, visitors are all safe. So we deal with things like air change rates and pressure cascades, fresh air rates, cooling loads, etc. And we do that in what they would call critical care systems within NHS hospitals, privately funded initiatives, and private hospitals. And that's basically things like operating theatres and isolation rooms, mortuaries, ICUs, intensive care units. And of course, with COVID coming along, it's made a massive difference, because a lot of places are realizing that they haven't done this very well, which has been very good for us, because we've always been known to be the predominant company in the country that does this. But you only get what you pay for. So we are more expensive than others, and they didn't want to pay the money, but now they're climbing over themselves to get to us now. So the problem is staff at the moment in the UK is very difficult to come by, and to train somebody properly takes a couple of years. So you can't just pop down to the job centre. Are there job centres anymore? I'm not sure.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And go and hire another one, because there's probably only, I don't know, 80, 100 people in the country that do it. So it's difficult.
Wow. So a really, really niche business then, by the sounds of it. So where are you based?
Absolutely. We're based in the West Country in the UK, as you can probably tell from my accent. But we work all over the country. Even we work in Scotland, Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, multiple trusts in London. We've got some of the what you would like to call the more prestigious hospitals, places like Great Ormond Street. We're just starting at, and we're going to be soon working in Alderhay, which is Children's Hospital up in Liverpool. But yeah, from Newcastle to Kent to wherever we go there. So yes, it's good.
Right. So you've got a small, very specialised team then that goes around the country. Is that how it works for you?
Yeah, we've got 8 engineers that are fully trained in all sorts of stuff, even including sort of safety cabinets that places like SmithKline Beecham and Pfizer's and all of those use, so we can test them as well. So yeah, it can be a bit challenging getting around the country. Certainly when there was, I mean, when the COVID restrictions were on, we actually had almost like we had permits to drive around the country. So if we were stopped by the police, we had NHS permits. So it was slightly strange, but we do tend to, we've got a big contract in Newcastle. We tend to fly up there. It's just easier. So yeah, we then got specialist report writers in the office. We've got people that are dedicated to look after our ISO. We've got the quality assurance, which we've had for a number of years, and we're now going for our environmental one as well. So we've got, specialists to do specialist jobs, and we also contract out a lot of stuff like health and safety, HR stuff, because it's just, for a company of our size, we've only got 18 staff. It's better to be safe than sorry. So the expertise that we haven't got, we send out for, basically.
Fabulous. And what made you set Approved Air up then, David? I know you said you were working for someone and one day you decided to set up yourself, but what was it? Because it's really interesting, because a lot of business owners, that's what they did. So what made you do that?
I don't know if this is particularly PC, but I did feel like I was working for a bunch of clowns most of the time, and I thought I could do better. So I kind of proved that I could do so. Yeah, that's kind of the way to go, I thought. And because I've been there and done it, so to speak, I knew the mistakes that most other people had made, and I wanted to get it right. So I think the service, certainly in the NHS that we provide, is, I would say, second to none. We've never lost a contract through any fault of our own. We might lose through a tender process, but that's only because they rely massively on price. About 70% of a tender within the NHS is price. So you can almost get the other 30% spot on and someone else gets 5% and you still lose it. So it's incredibly frustrating. But as I said, with COVID coming along, people have realised now that they've been doing this for years and they've neglected what's going on. So the infrastructure, I think the backlog maintenance for the infrastructure in the NHS alone is in the billions. So they have to catch up because most stuff now is old. And believe it or you probably won't believe this, but I've worked on hospitals where the ventilation is still from the 1950s.
Wow. I can believe it, but being a nurse, I can actually believe it, having worked in the buildings. Some of it was really old, and
I won't tell you where, but yes, it's some places are shocking.
And is that still even now? Has that been in recent times?
Yeah, there's still places knocking around which are seriously need to be pulled down and start again. But you can't really say that. So
well, it definitely
no one's watching.
Yeah, definitely sounds like you're making the world a better place by improving that ventilation and everything in the hospital. So it sounds like you've done a fantastic job. And your answer to why did you do this in the first place is the answer I hear all the time. I ask that question. People will say, I just felt I could do it better. And got frustrated in not being able to do that. So it's not that it's not PC. It's a very, very common response to that question. So that's perfect. Thank you, David. Absolutely fascinating to hear about Approved Air. So Bernie, I'm going to come over to you now. Both of you have joined the engineering vertical. So Bernie, same question to you. Tell us about yourself and tell us about BEP Engineering. And you're based over in Canada.
Yes, well, yeah, we're in the west coast of Canada, Vancouver area, and it's one of our prime industries here, or the prime industry is in the forest industry here. So I got into that after a little stint in heating and ventilating, actually, David. But anyway, so I worked at various companies, and I was kind of held back by those that had been there longer, and I was kind of outperforming them, and it just seemed like after a couple of job changes, it seemed the way to go would be to go out on my own and be a contractor and incorporate myself. So I did that in '81, and so I got about 41 years as a company now, and 50 altogether, and probably another 10 overtime. So I got about 60 years into it, I guess. There's about a dozen of us typically here, and we service a good part of North America, not Mexico, but U.S. and Canada, and even branching into other countries a little bit. What we do is we help people modify their mills or build new ones, every scale. And so often they'll have something that doesn't work well, and we don't critique it. We need what doesn't work well, and we'll have 2 or 3 solutions to make it better. And better might be higher production or less people or handling, hard handling, like ergonomic type, injury creating kind of handling. So we make it easier for the operators, so maybe they don't have to touch anything even after we're done, and or maybe have less people required, and less damage to wood, and more coming out the end that's sellable and less damaged or sent to the chipper when it could have been more higher value come out of it. It's kind of the direction we try to go with. So the forest industries are, you get more bang for your buck, I guess, and more product out of your log that's higher value. Yeah, in a nutshell. So, but it's pretty interesting because we have to go and measure up what's already all there and then come up with a creative solution to modify it with the constraints that are there, that some of which we can't really adjust. We may have to add on to buildings creatively, as well as the mechanics. We do sell metal buildings and fabric buildings and dry kilns for Brunner Hildebrand. Those are my tangibles. The rest is intangible. It's all drawings. Yeah.
Fabulous. And how has it been?
One thing more. We the drawings form a scope that allows both sides to have a clear future in terms of what's going to be provided, and without that, often like paragraphs describing projects are read and pictured in people's minds differently. There's a contingencies that get applied to any uncertainties, and it drives the price up. So sometimes that'll cause a project to not even happen because it drives it up like 100% sometimes if it's that vague. And so it just dies. So if we can get, and people are trying to skip that stage and go right to vendors and put them under pressure to provide a complete price of stuff they've never done and aren't comfortable with and have no idea really. So they just throw a high number at it to make sure they survive it should it actually happen. So traditionally, what we would go in there and help develop that even initial scope, so they have a better appetite for the project and comfort and level and being able to provide a sharp pencil price, shall we say?
Yeah. And how has it been as we're coming out of the pandemic? How is it looking at the moment for IEP?
The forest industry seemed to do pretty good through the pandemic, actually. So although the 1 year, I think we mostly were selling buildings and some kilns, not so much, but everybody that was staying at home or working at home suddenly needed to expand and their house or something like that, and or they were focusing on jobs around the home while they had the time, or anyway, it drove the price of lumber up dramatically, like never seen before kind of numbers. So it's prompted a big increase in workload for us. Right.
And coming back to you, David, what's your reasons for joining MBH? What is it you want to achieve and get out of the group? And, how has it been so far?
I was finding that I've been doing this a long time, and I was becoming a bit disillusioned with it all and very jaded, and was planning an exit strategy. And one of the things that made me change my mind from trying to sell to joining MBH was the fact that I could do some succession planning for my team that have been with me a long time. So now within the next few years, they'll be able to get enough expertise to continue to grow within the group. I did think, after speaking initially to Callum, that the enthusiasm and everything for the group and within the group was outstanding. And I was hoping, some of that enthusiasm might come my way again, and it has in spades, really. I'm very much more excited about the future and how things can change. I've only been here 6 months. I think it is definitely the best decision I ever made. I wish I could have made it before. The management, yourself, Callum, everybody has been very, very helpful. It's made our life very easy. The fact that there's so much help from all the other principals as well. It's been a wonderful experience, and I hope, you know, we as a company and I as a person can bring something to the group, and I think, you know, the future's bright, and bring it on.
Yeah, and I can completely echo a lot of what you've said there. And I think for small business, the teams really matter, because they've grown with you, haven't they? They become part of your work family, and, you know, knowing and thinking about their next steps is something that really, really matters to us. So I can really understand where you're coming from there. And Bernie, over to you. What about yourself? You know, why did you join, and what's your experience so far? I mean, you did manage to make it over to the UK as well, didn't you, for the face-to-face meetup?
I did, yes, I did, and I survived that. Unscathed. I didn't get COVID, you know, so that's good.
Yeah, that is.
But yeah, I have family too. I have a brother and son here, and I didn't really have anybody stepping up to do what I do. And I was also looking at exit strategies, and the alternatives were seemingly potentially somebody would come in and maybe pay you half and the other half in stages if you hit milestones. And it seemed to me that some people or groups out there were, the context was to get that person out and not pay that other portion. So it kind of looked like a potential for a bad marriage ending at the end of your career, kind of a deal. So this having the opportunity for my brother and son to carry on, you know, and give us more time to replace in part the parts that I do, and I can stay involved indefinitely and to some degree, and that's okay too, because there is a lot that I do enjoy doing this and I need the mental stimulation. So yeah, there was a lot of appeal. It was much more relaxed and supported exit potential long term, and no rush, and I did have a bit of a ceiling that I couldn't push through on my own to get to be any bigger as well. So I see, you know, the merger and acquisition element can help with that too. So I see with the support of everyone that I can grow in that manner.
Yeah, perfect. And again, another great reasons for joining, and they just mirror reasons that other principals have said over the times that they've been in, that it's really about that growth and how to break through that ceiling. It's about the people, and I think all of us as business owners are not ready to exit. It's kind of, we're not ready. We still feel we've got something to give, but we also know there needs to be some planning. So it's really, really fascinating to hear what you're saying. So thank you to you both. I'm going to bring in some of the other principals now, but a huge welcome to you both. Don't leave. I'll pop you back in the waiting room, but don't leave in case we want to come back and have any more questions with you both. But I'm going to bring in Gary from VGT, and I'm going to bring in Melissa from Meeting of the Minds, and then I've also got the other Gary and Vicky and Amanda. We're going to try and get everybody on screen today, see if we can have a full look at that. I'm sorry, my camera keeps going off as well, by the way. So a huge welcome to all of you. So we had our face-to-face meetup. This was the first time we've got together in 3 years. I think for most of you, if not all of you, probably the first face-to-face meetup we've had. So it'd be really good to, I'll go to you first, Melissa. But you know, you were out in the US, you were the first company in the US, joined all on your own over there, you know. So how was the meetup for you?
For me, it was really powerful because it was a way to connect as the US, we kind of tend to just do business all on our own. We forget that there's a global world out there, especially in a small business. So for me to connect with everybody and the principals was so powerful that collaboration could instantly begin a bond. I was joking with the Garys, it's like now I can touch them in person, it just has a different feel to it. And we were able to do live fireside chats, which for me was pretty neat. That's where we get to introduce some of the principals to the organization. So I think from all the point of view from the principals it was well needed. We need to start thinking more positively about how to get out of the pandemic. And we were creating strategies to do that, not just in our own individual companies, but more as an MBH company.
Yeah. And are you exploring anything with other companies in the group? Has it allowed for that conversation to take place? It's that stood by the bar having a conversation kind of chat that you don't get, do you, from a distance? But were those opportunities created for you?
Yeah, so we had a breakout session where we connected with 2 or 3 other principals in the group, and it was interesting because they were Diana was saying her challenge of in the educational sector, and I didn't understand that in the UK the government usually pays for these learning courses, where in the US we're used to individually paying for it. So I said, why don't you open it on the private sector? Didn't work in the UK, but it works phenomenal in the US. And so we're already starting up meetings on how to get more of the educational sectors to teach those, whatever it be in the healthcare field or financial field. It's a platform that the US has, and now we could interact between the companies. So very exciting and very powerful example of why it's important we get together. So
yeah, fabulous. And it was lovely to see you in the flesh, wasn't it? Strange seeing everybody there. We've all seen each other on Zoom, but then when you see each other in person, people are either taller or shorter than you thought they were going to be, and it's absolutely. But each other. It's a really, really strange thing. Gary Marshall, if I come to you then, sorry I have to say your surname, but there's two Garys on screen. How did you find it? Because it was the same for you, probably the first time you've met most people in the group.
Yeah, and it does make a big difference meeting people face to face, because as you say, we'd all seen each other on Zoom, but it is very different meeting people in person. And incidentally, it's great news for the taxi trade because it demonstrates the value in meeting face to face. And we've already started to see businesses starting to move around again and interact with each other. So there was a kind of a bit of reassurance that you could see people are going to get together again, which will help our industry. And I also witnessed Melissa's meeting that kind of came out of nowhere, and it was great to see that that would have never have happened without the MBH connection. Yeah, I don't think the UK company had thought about taking it to a different marketplace, and I really don't think that the two things could have occurred without being part of the group.
Yeah, it is a really unique ecosystem, isn't it? And I think during the pandemic, probably within verticals, people are having conversations, but the face-to-face, it really does pull us together, having conversations cross-vertical and trying to understand what's going on in other industries. Because you're right, a lot of what you see, you can mirror in your own industry, or you can see how it's going to affect your industry. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. And Vicky, how about you with the face-to-face event? Because it was your first one as well. What key takeaways did you take from it?
It was just so nice. Like I think everyone else has said, it was just so nice meeting everyone face-to-face rather than I'm used to seeing you all in like little boxes. So it was just like really nice to see everyone face-to-face, meet up with everyone. And I think it was just what I took away from it was just how much we all bring to one another as a group collectively. Like even though we're so diverse in the businesses that we do, we've still all got the same end goal, and we can still all support each other in certain ways. So yeah, that was my main take back.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful takeaway, because that's what you can give, isn't it? It's what you can bring. And I think that's what the group is about. It's about what everybody brings. It's not about what people take from the group. And by that, having that approach, I think means people benefit more and companies benefit more from being in there. And what about you, Gary? How did you find the face-to-face event? Gary Smith.
I think everybody summed it up really. It was just from a scale from 1 on Zoom and it went to 10 meeting each other. It's just you connected and it worked, and it made future communication much easier, much more. You can be it email or pick up the phone and just it now feels the progression from meeting together is going to be much better.
Yeah, and I think it's an exciting year for companies this year. I think 2022, we got to hear a little bit more in depth about what's going on in the businesses, but I think it's a really exciting year for the companies in the group. And what about you, Amanda? Is there anything you're taking away that you're going to go and apply in your business or give some thought to now?
Oh, definitely, yes. I really enjoyed meeting up with everyone. It was inspiring. I loved how open everybody was about sharing, their experiences. How they were always there, wanting to support you. Just the same as everyone else, really. It was just a great event, that was, definitely.
And I think we all came away wanting more events like that, didn't we? We all came away going, "Oh, we should do this more. We should get together more. We should take those opportunities." Because the last event was in Germany, and I think there was 4 or 5 of us. To give you an idea of how long it's been, but yeah, it was really, really great to see everybody. So one of the other things I just wanted to touch on that we've been doing was the female leadership program, and I know Vicky and Amanda were both part of that. So I'm really keen. So the female leadership program, for people that are watching, was aimed at how do we try and encourage more female-run businesses into the group, but then also how do we develop the female leaders and the women in our businesses in the group, and all adding to our diversity, our quality and diversity plans. So the female leadership program was really aimed at that, and it's the first one that we've ever run. We are going to run another one in September, so we will be opening it again to both businesses in and outside of the group. But Vicky, tell me a little bit about the female leadership program and how you found the program.
Yeah, so I didn't really know what it was at first, but I knew I wanted to join it. So I was really privileged to be able to join in the female leadership program. And what it was groups, businesses, female business owners within MBH, but also it was really nice that there was female business leaders not in MBH who had a variety of different businesses, and we all came together evenings and during the day once a week, and we listened to guest speakers, which were really inspirational, those were. But what was really nice was we were a group of females, and we were able to share ideas, offer support to one another. And then it was lovely after that we've got like our own little group chat, and that's still ongoing now. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really worth doing.
Yeah, did you have any favourite guest speakers? Was there anything that one of them said that
I don't want to say because they were all as good as one another, but there was one in particular that I was in tears probably all the way through. So yeah, but I'm not going to say no names. They were all fantastic.
Yeah, is that because you could relate to them, or was it what was it about?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was, and I think their background story, like when we're talking about business, no one ever perhaps asks about the background of the business, you know what I mean? And I do think that's really important.
Yeah. And what about you, Amanda? What did you think about the female leadership program? What have you taken away from that?
I just found it so, like Vicky said, inspirational. I was so positive after every meeting. I just wanted the meetings to go on. I wanted one every day so that I could come off and feel as the energy coming out of the other female sort of entrepreneurs and everything, and everybody else. It was just so inspiring. you know, I didn't realize how alone I felt until I was part of that, and also part of MBH. So, you know, it can be a lonely place, you know, sort of when you're up there. So yeah, all the guest speakers were just so inspirational. Their journeys, how they juggled so many different things to get where they wanted to get to, and they all had the ultimate goals. You know, and it was just, and I could see so many similarities in myself on my journey. So I felt, you know, very connected. It was really good. It really moved me, a lot of it. Yes, definitely.
Well, I think sometimes we think everybody else looks perfect, don't they? And actually, everybody's had a journey and everybody's had good times and bad times. If the last couple of years haven't taught us that, nothing will. So I think when people are very open and transparent, it does really boost you, doesn't it? In a safe space as well. It was a very safe environment. Nobody held back. Everybody had those conversations. So yeah, really glad to hear about that. So I think it'd be really good to give investors a little bit of insight as to what's going on in the different industries at the moment. So I'm going to come back to you, Gary Marshall, and just tell us about what are you now seeing. We're coming through we hope the other side of the pandemic, but you know, what's happening in the taxi industry? What are you seeing? Has it changed at all? Is it, you know, is anything different than how things were before?
Yeah, it's definitely starting to pick up, which is really nice. I think we're always going to be one of the tail end businesses to pick up, because we won't pick up until other businesses start to move around again. And particularly my business within the transport industry, we're near Heathrow Airport, so we had a lot of corporate transports to the airport, whereas perhaps the people in Stoke or Birmingham or, you know, Leicester areas, big cities, saw the uptake a bit quicker than down here. But yeah, I've just seen that our job counts and up threefold, I think, on the first quarter last year versus the first quarter this year, which shows, you know, a major difference and reflects in revenues, which is nice too. But we still have more growth to do, so we're not back yet to our pre-pandemic levels. And that will come more as more and more businesses start to travel around. That's what we need for our position in airport. But it moves the current challenges back to driver recruitment. Lots of drivers left the trade as COVID came along because there was, you know, no way that they could earn a living, and they haven't all returned yet. So our biggest challenge is getting new drivers in, and as a group, that's happening. We've set up transport academies around the UK, mainly in the bigger cities. So to bring on drivers, train them how to do taxi driving, train them how to pass the government legislations and tests that they have to do to feed into our taxi companies.
Yeah, and how's that working? Because recruitment was I think if I think back about maybe 9 to 12 months, I think everybody around recruitment had something going on that was a challenge. Yeah. But how is it now? How is it looking now?
It's still shy. Pre-COVID, we had 104 drivers. Once COVID started, I think we went down to 6. So
wow.
There was just no one was moving in that first lockdown. Nothing was happening, and loads of drivers had to go off the road and couldn't work, and it was only a few of them that wanted to work through it. So yeah, down to 6. Last April, we had about 30. And this April we're back up to 67. Right. So you can kind of see a major sway in that, but that's the lifeblood of the company. You know, we have 2 sets of customers in a taxi industry. You've got the people ringing you up wanting a taxi, but you've got your driver as well. He is also a customer, because we take the customer and introduce him to the driver and take a revenue share from the driver's fare. So we have to please these 2 sets of customers, and it just drivers are the lifeblood of the company as much as the customer on the end of the phone as well.
Fabulous. And what changed over the last few years?
You cut out there, Vicky. I got what changed.
Did I cut out? Sorry, Gary. Did I cut out? I just said to Gary Smith, and for the construction industry, how's it looking for you guys? And what's changed for you with construction?
In the obviously construction is quite a broad range. Our sectors, obviously leisure, hospitality. There's been an upturn, including last year. I was quite surprised, even through COVID, after a period that some operators I didn't expect to, hear from again, have decided that they'll carry on and undertake the work and open. It's a blip, but larger operators also, in the restaurant sector, I think they've had the opportunity of having more choice of venues. Unfortunately, there's businesses that have closed, and that venues more A3 venues have become available for the restaurant sector themselves. So the restaurant opportunities are very good. You've got different operators that are taking on, almost swapping round. Some of the larger operators have more than one venue and they're dotted around the country, but some of those are closed or they've sold it off to somebody else. So that's been moving around. The quick service food or the operators, which are the ones you'd pop in and get a sandwich and a coffee. Always used to be very dominant in the city mile, but that's still quiet, but they are now expanding again, and new operators coming into the UK. I mean, we've one of our business areas previously was having a steady flow of quick service operators. So we might do 5, 6, 7, or 8 of those of a year, which is it's a nice bread and butter stream. It's good for cash flow. So I'm pleased to say that we've picked up 2 of those. So we've now got that nice, steady revenue stream, along with the large projects are great, but they're usually only one-off. So it's, you get this a little bit of feast and famine based on the larger projects and trying to maintain a sort of a mid continuity. But overall, it's we've all said this year is going to be buoyant. It feels that way, and it's definitely more buoyant than last year. And the word on the street, everybody's looking to go forward, and it's getting to a point in a couple of years when you're going, well, what COVID? Do you remember that? Which it will be.
Let's hope so, Gary. I think that'd be a nice place to be. And what about you, Melissa? How's things looking for your business, and how has it changed over the last few years?
So the last 2 years, we've had more focus on the education of getting into the industry, very similar to Gary's on the transportation sector, is that, we have the 2 sets of clients, the people who are working to, further grow the business. Our agents are the lifeline of the business. And then you have the homeowners that want to get that, or the investors. And so we found, oddly enough, the educational sector picked up so much, which is why when I went to MBH, we could share that information. And but the loans have gone through a major change in the last 60 days with rates going up as much as they have. So we still have about 23 in the pipeline. We only lost 2 because of huge rate changes. So I think the impression is that people understand that they need to hedge against inflation, so they're buying real estate. So it is creating another demand for us on the investor sector. So I'm excited about 2022. It's a good year.
Wow, it sounds like things are going in the right direction then for you over there. And inflation's been a question, I think, for a lot of us. How it's going to affect all the different businesses. We're all experiencing it, wage inflation, and everything. So, you know, we've got that to now navigate, if you like, but there are opportunities within that as well. And Vicky, moving to you, tell us a little bit about the health and social care industry now from your perspective. What are you seeing? How has it changed? What do you hope to see from it as well, I guess, going forward?
Yeah, so obviously I know I've said this in other meetings that we've had, that it did really affect the health and social care sector, as it did all sectors. But what I've noticed now is, I mean, obviously we're full at Samuel Hobson House. We have been for the past, 9-12 months now, which is fantastic. So obviously we need to look at expanding Samuel Hobson House, and that's what we're looking at towards the very near future. But I think what's changed in the health and social care sector is people recognise now that we are skilled people. People are skilled at what they do in this sector.
I suppose it's a bit like what David was talking about, that until you need it, you don't realise what was there wasn't, you know, it wasn't recognised in the way that it should be recognised, and the value wasn't on, you know.
No, and that is something that I hope that comes out of all the past few years, that people are recognised, the carers are recognised for what they do.
Yeah. Have you started to see a shift in anything like that? Have you started to see a shift in how people are looking at the industry?
Yeah, definitely. I have. Yeah, I've seen. I think I can't really explain it properly, but there has been a change. I do feel as though there has. I do feel people are being more recognised for what they do. And I mean, at Samuel Hobson House, we've put into place the real living wage for the staff, just as a recognition for what they do. They deserve to get paid a wage.
Yeah, and that's really credit to you for doing that over there, because it's not an industry where that's easy to achieve actually either. So I think that's really good, and I'm assuming that will help you hopefully with staff retention and attracting people to the business.
Yeah, I mean, we've already got really good retention rates with our staffing, I think, because of the culture that we've got in the home. But then we've also embarking on a wellbeing program as well to further support the staff. And then we've brought in like additional training as well. So we're really going to look at investing in the staff that we've got within the home.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So before we wrap up, we've got about just 10 minutes or so. It'd be really good to hear if there's anything that's going on in the businesses that's really exciting that you want to share with investors. So I'll go to you first, Melissa. Have you got anything that you're thinking about working on this year that's really exciting, or some little wins that you've had recently?
Yeah, so our industry is very fragmented. And so we were inspired by the transportation industry, how they were able to assimilate other smaller businesses that are struggling into the model and creating additional revenue. And so that's what I've turned my focus on. We have one in the pipeline right now that hopefully will do an assimilation within the next 60 days. And so that'll double increase our volume in our loan department. And I'm looking to do that now with the agents. We just purchased another brokerage in another state, Connecticut. So New York and Connecticut do a lot of business together. So I'm hoping that there's some good synergies. So that's what we're doing for 2022.
Yeah, fabulous. And what about you, Gary Marshall? What exciting things have you got planned for this year?
I don't think we're going to have anything exciting and new. Our big drive is going to be focused on driver recruitment. Driver recruitment and retention is going to be a key focus for us, because without them, as I said, we've recovered to a level, but we saw it over the Easter holidays. You see the back to the floor. This weekend I've been back driving a taxi for the last 5 days because we had so much work on and people traveling again, going to the airport and family holidays, that I was back in an 8-seater driving around, taking people to the airport and back. And we've got to the capacity for our 67 cars, and we need more drivers on to be able to continue that growth back to where we were previously. So yeah, the taxi academies and driver recruitment are going to be what we're truly concentrating on.
Yeah, and is the taxi vertical still planning to grow, and is it still on its
absolutely. We're still talking. Yeah, still talking to lots. I mean, I almost had a little local company was going to come on board with us. Not unfortunately as a purchase. He was going to come on as a collaborative working. So whilst you can't find drivers, there are always periods where maybe your person who was a competitor has quiet spells and you've got a busy spell, and vice versa. Perhaps we could utilize each other's vehicles and split costs so that they could come onto the same system, or we could share the cost of the system and share the cost of the phone switch, and maybe even look to some answering each other's calls with spare staff. And we did all the work, prep work, brought him on board. He started to come on board, but he had a struggle with the computer system that we were using versus the one that he used to use, and some of the things that it did. So that has stopped currently, and I'll be going back to trying to convince him to come back on board again once we've got over the hurdles of him. Changes in system and operations is always difficult for people. Any change in operations is a difficult process. So yeah, I'll have another go at that with him. But I'm always looking at local companies in the next town to see, keep communications open.
Yeah, fabulous. And then it's really interesting you to say about how competitors, there's just a lot more collaborative working in the group and outside of the group with other organisations. We've experienced a similar thing in education where I'm a great believer in collaboration. I think that makes a better offer for the end user that we're all here to serve. So it's really interesting to hear that people just view it differently. There's been a bit of a change in attitude, and people are more open to working together. And I think it's back to your point about all that hands on deck mentality that we all had to do, and are still having to do on occasions. It's kind of generated a different feel. And what about you, Amanda? Have you got any little wins or anything exciting going on in your organisation?
Yeah, I've had a really, really positive meeting today with one of the awarding bodies. As you can see, my hairdressing room behind me that we've had built since lockdown. There's lots of changes to the qualifications, and the forefront is going to be hairdressing and barbering. So that's one of the big things that we wanted to get going. Lots of learners wanting to join. Also, through MBH and collaboratively working, I'm now working with other partners to get, different funding streams in. So we'll be able to do a bigger offer to the learners and grow that way. So really excited. Wow. And so the hairdressing and barbering, that's a new line for you. Is that a new product offering for you? Yeah, fabulous. Yeah, and what about you, Gary? Anything going on in your business that you're looking forward to this year?
Yeah, very much so. The are focused on freeing me up more from being sort of embroiled, a bit like Gary says. Well, like we all are. It's all it's hands on deck, isn't it? So you're busy doing what you need to do, but they recognise that I should be out there and not physically doing a lot of embroiled stuff within the business or project managing, etc. So to that aim, I know we've Ian, we've had a new project manager start 4 weeks ago. That's, like we've all experienced, a challenge finding the right people. And we have Neil, who's a site manager, and they're people that look and feel as though they've been here for years, and that's quite. So we want the same ethos and which was generated through apprenticeships and building people through the company. So when you're still trying to maintain that approach with new people coming in, it takes a bit longer to find the right ones, but I'm pleased to say that we are, and also in the workshop now. We've got another bench joiner starting on Monday. Several people apply, but I think we tend to want to pick and choose a bit more and get what we want that fits. People that want to be here and feel part of the family. That's so. There's a process. We've all got a plan, and it's nice to see it when you can actually see you're getting there.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I'm gonna bring David and Bernie back onto the screen and ask them the same question. So, is there any exciting plans for you, David, this year that you can share?
I'm hoping to make an acquisition this year. A company that is well established and is in part of the sort of supply chain that I'm in. So it's sort of the next standard up of authorizing engineers. I'm hoping to acquire them. We're already in talks, getting them to come over to Spain and have a chat in the sunshine with a beer is always good. So they'll be here.
Yeah, fabulous. And I think that's one of the great things about being in MBH. I think the mergers and acquisitions opportunities came through very strong at the meetup. And it's certainly something I keep hearing that people want to focus on this side of the pandemic. And what about you, Bernie? Finally, have you got any exciting plans you can share?
Yes, I have some a potential merger I want to work on this year too. See if we can make that. It's a direct competitor, and it sort of is a group that has mostly retired out of it, and the new guy is, well, a little bit younger generation, is still much older than everyone else there, and I think maybe ailing a bit. They actually gave us some work a year or two ago because of his health. So he may, I don't know what his circumstances are. I've got to flush it out, but I had set up a luncheon, but he had to cancel because he got caught up in something. So I want to do that again and just see where he's at. It would be very good. The other is we're working on some large projects that are kind of peripheral to what we normally do, using wood as a base fuel to make hydrogen, really. So biomass to hydrogen, to power first and then to hydrogen is one big new, and they're intending to build many of these plants. So it could just be a spin-off of dramatic size to the future, or maybe another kind of a very split discipline. But also there's another one that's very different, that's making greenhouses and fish growing, not using wood at all, but it's through people I've met in the wood industry that are branching out, and they're trying to do organic growth of a complete circle of food. So they would do fish, and some of the byproducts from that would be turned into fertilizer for the plants, and some of the plants would be fed to the vegetarian type fish, and there's and then also the fertilizer could be used in the fields and create organic grains, which could then be fed to the cattle, which makes them organic, and so on. It's a big circle that they're intending, and it's the funding for that is imminent to get going. I'm excited about that. That should be any time. So those are just some of the peripherals to the regular sawmill business, and which is also doing very well, and people are growing and adding and changing, and so it's good times.
Fabulous. So it sounds like everybody's got loads of exciting stuff to be working on. That brings us to the end. The hour goes incredibly quickly every single time. We always think we've got ages, and an hour flies by. So a huge thank you to all the panel for joining. It's been absolutely great seeing you. Thank you to everybody that's watching. Don't forget to watch us on MBH YouTube channel, go onto our website, and don't forget that which is at mbhcorporation.com, and don't forget that our annual report is out to date. So thank you to everybody, and I'll see you all soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
Vicky.
you.